One. What up? What up? What up? Welcome to a special episode of the Sports PSP podcast, the highlight of Friday nights. Although today is a Sunday, again, first of all, I want to apologize to the audience that we didn't do a show Friday night. PSP unfortunately had to take care of some things, some personal issues, but hey, I'm here. Sorry that we couldn't do a show on Friday. I apologize. I'm sure y'all read the statement from Undisputed World Champ. Thank you, Champ. PSP was dealing with some personal problems at the time. So I just want to personally apologize to the audience for wasting your time and for you being concerned or worried. But don't worry, we gonna always provide a show, and the Sports PSP podcast will be on every Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. Just want to apologize for that. Unfortunately, just like the rest of us, PSP is going through some tough times himself, which is why it's always important to take it one day at a time. As Undisputed World Champ always says to me, hey, you can find another pod. A pod ain't going to find another you. So always got to remember that. And of course, we cannot do the Sports PSP podcast without my main man, Columbus, Georgia's own. He is the 4-time college degree champion. He's the military man and veteran. He is the Al Roker of journalism, the young Charles Barkley, the Black Peter Griffin, or better yet, the Black Eric Cartman, because he is wearing an Eric Cartman hat, as you can see right now. He is like the little brother of Mark Henry, like the little version of Mark Henry. Funny, comical, smart, brilliant, above it all. He's definitely happy because Mama Champ is happy because the Dallas Cowboys beat the brakes out of the New York Jets. So hopefully Champ could reward her by taking her to dinner. The one and only Undisputed World Champ. How you doing, big fella?
I am good, man. I am great, man. Look, glad to have you back, brother. Glad to have you back. Glad everything is going better, man. Got the Angry Orchard and everything. Hopefully your Commanders can pull it out today, man. Watching the WNBA finals, and it looks like the Vegas Aces are just too much for the Phoenix Mercury. And another thing, Satu Sabali looks like she's dealing with an ankle injury at this point. So it's going from bad to worse.
And also, too, but Juvenile was there. The
Yeah,
great
Juvenile was there. Juvenile was
man,
there.
Shout out to the great ESPN cast with L. Duncan. With them, I just love it. And A'ja Wilson, what more can you say, man? But speaking of the WNBA, big fella, by any chance, did you have any time to look at Nafisha Coyer's statement? Because when I looked at it, even though A'ja Wilson rightfully so is the MVP, if you want to make an argument for Nafisha Collier as the real MVP, because she pulled out them receipts on the WNBA commissioner Kathy Engelbert, and let me read you one of the things that she told in that press conference, the conversation that she had with the WNBA commissioner Kathy Engelbert. Nafisha Collier asked Kathy Engelbert how she planned to fix the fact that Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Bueckers, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league and making so little for their first 4 years. According to Nafisha Collier, Kathy Engelbert's response was, quote, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court because without the platform the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't be making anything. Then on top of that, Nafisha calling her the Collier, calling the commissioner the worst leader in sports. And I got to be honest with you, champ. It's no wonder why the WNBA hasn't been evolving and why the WNBA players are making so little money, because that type of philosophy by the WNBA commissioner. And I find it hard to believe that Nafisha Collier would be fabricating this, because she the vice president of the WNBA?
Yeah, she's the vice president. Her and Breonna Stewart.
Right.
They're the president and the vice presidents of the WNBA Players Association, and they're also the founders of Unrivaled. So if you really, really look at it, they are. Look, I'm gonna just be real. The reason why you could say Nafisha Collier knows what she's talking about is because right now the Unrivaled, they went from the league that her and Breonna Stewart and a couple of investors started. That league is now worth over $300 million. And they've only been in business for 1 year. So if anybody knows what they're talking about as far as business is concerned and what it takes in order to make business to go up, it's Napheesa Collier and Breanna Stewart. Matter of fact, after that press conference, they were scheduled to have a meeting, her and Kathy Engelberger, and Napheesa Collier abruptly canceled the meeting. So I will find it hard to believe that Napheesa Collier would be a liar or fabricate a story. And it doesn't seem like the WNBA players respect
Kathy Engelbert. Not at all. I mean, look at the comments from A'ja Wilson to a lot of them players. And Napheesa Collier is very well liked and respected by her contemporaries.
Yes.
But I am not surprised at all that Napheesa Collier would say this, champ, because it's no wonder why the WNBA can't evolve. And remember, they got until Halloween with this new CBA. So they better figure out which type of commissioner do they need in order for the sport to grow and evolve. Now, clearly, champ, we don't expect the WNBA to make as much money like the NFL, the NBA, the MLB. However, we do expect them to make a lot more money than what they're currently given. And the thing is, when you have that type of philosophy from the commissioner, now she can deny it all she wants, but nobody ain't buying it. I mean, her denying it is like you trying to deny a good piece of chicken and ribs and some collard greens on the side. Ain't nobody going to deny that.
No.
With by the way, some sweet potato pie for dessert. But Napheesa Collier knows what she's talking about. She's smart. I find it hard to believe that she would be making this stuff up. She had the receipts. So if you're Kathy Engelbert, and I've talked to one of my friends at work, they've even suggested, hey, look, with the WNBA, if we want to try to grow and evolve the product, why don't we do once a month meetings with the executives so that we can determine, okay, what we want to do as far as growing and evolving the business. And the executives don't even care. Did you hear what Sophia Cunningham had to say regarding the executives?
Yeah, nobody respects any of the executives that's in the WNBA, and it's just evident how they address them. It's evident how they address the commissioner. Have you ever heard a player in the NBA address, David Stern as David?
Not at all.
Have you ever heard anybody, even Adam Silver, have you ever heard anybody just address him as Adam? No. Have you ever heard, outside of James Harrison, and you know how comical Chad Ochocinco is, God bless him, you never hear anybody address Roger Goodell as Roger.
It's the only time Ocho calls him dad.
Yeah, Ocho calls him daddy, but again, he
likes the commissioner. He loves the commissioner, so it's a mutual respect thing.
Yeah, and he has him in his phone, says that his dad. So yeah, I mean, outside of James Harrison, which everybody calls Debo because he got fined more than anybody during Roger Goodell's tenure, and Ochocinco, which is out of respect, you don't hear anybody call Roger Goodell Roger. You call them either Roger Goodell, Mr. Goodell, or Commissioner Goodell. You can tell how they don't respect Kathy Engelberger, how they address her. It's always Kathy. It's like I've never heard of an authority figure being addressed as their first name. I've never heard that. Even with David Stern, even when certain things happened with David Stern that they didn't agree with, well, Commissioner Stern or David Stern, it was never on a first name basis. And they have to get it together because not only do they have this new TV deal with ESPN and ION coming up, they just signed another one with the USA Network that's going to air WNBA games, and they're going to have double headers every single Wednesday.
Which is I think it's good. And not only that, they have ESPN, they also have CBS Sports because they're showing the games on CBS Sports. So now with USA Today, and on top of that, with USA Today, I mean, look, Raw's on Netflix now, and they're only showing Raw on SmackDowns on Friday nights. And of course, let's not forget the NXT. So my thing is with the WNBA, I mean, I got to give major kudos to Napheesa Collier. And to your point, champ, the players around the WNBA, they know what's up. They know that Kathy Engelbert is not their cup of tea. And the statements from Nafisa Collier are so profound. So if you're the WNBA and if you're the executives, what are you going to try to do in order to get her out of the WA? Because the thing is, if you're not growing, if you're not evolving with that type of philosophy, well, how is the sport going to market? How are you going to make revenue? And when you hear Nafisa Collier saying Caitlin should be thankful she's making $16 million off the court. Look, we've had criticism of Caitlin Clark, the WNBA player champ, but she was already a commodity long before the WNBA with the NIL deals, back-to-back national championship appearances at the University of Iowa. Angel Reese, say whatever you want about Angel Reese, good or bad. Hey, she can ball and she brings revenue. Obviously, with her sneaker deal with Reebok, her podcast, the Unapologetic podcast, you know, the celebrities that she has on her show, whether Cam Newton, Mariah the Scientist, Lotto, whoever it is. And Paige Bueckers, the reigning rookie of the year, the #1 overall pick of Dallas. So what's going to happen with the future generations? Because unfortunately, Juju Watkins, she's going to be out for the remainder of the season, but she's going to be projected to be a top pick, maybe the #1 overall pick. And if it continues to keep on going like this, I think the WNBA needs to find a way to get rid of her because the players don't respect her. The players don't appreciate her. Obviously, she's not doing anything on her part to grow and evolve. So my thing is, why keep her?
What they need is they need a David Stern.
You mentioned that.
David Stern. They need a David Stern in the worst way. They need somebody who's going to not only be on the side of the executive and the owners, but also is player friendly. They need someone who's going to, a commissioner who's going to be able to market the WNBA, market its players, and market its stars. Right now, this is some of the best college basketball we've seen in women's sports history as far as the social media era goes. This is some of the best college basketball, and it trickles down. It's kind of like how how college football does to the NFL. You have all-time greats in the college basketball as far as the women's is concerned, and they're just being formed right to the WNBA. And you need someone like a David Stern in order to market this product. Right now, you have TV deals out to you know what. And it's quite ironic that right about now it's on USA Network because guess what? Women's wrestling is more popular than the men right about now. Let's just keep it all the way a buck. They're right on par with the men as far as popularity is concerned, women's wrestling. So when you put that on alongside of wrestling, then guess what? You're going to get a lot of eyeballs looking.
Viewers.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of eyeballs looking at the product. So USA Network has always been known as the wrestling network because of the WWE. Now you're able to put another product on there in order to bring viewership to the network. So especially with a double header every single Wednesday, that is chef kiss. You got to give that. But in order for that to work, you need someone who's going to market the games, who's going to market the product. When A'ja Wilson plays Caitlin Clark, there needs to be a promo for it. She's the best player.
Or Nafisa Collier facing Caitlin Clark.
There needs to be a promo for it. There needs to be a promo for every single game. There needs to be build up to the game. There needs to be storyline. There needs to be viewership put out. There needs to be advertising for WNBA League Pass. There needs to be certain shows that are advertised on WNBA League Pass in order for us, the audience, in order to pay attention to. So there needs to be a lot of adjustments with either the current commissioner, or they need a David Stern-like personality that can get them to that level. Because right now, for her to say that Caitlin Clark should be grateful that she is making $16 million outside of the W, that's kind of a farce if you really want me to be honest with you. Because without Caitlin Clark, without Angel Reese, without a lot of these new players, there is no viewership at this point. They paved the way in order for us to be talking about it today. Now, the thing is, hardcore fans like myself, like you, like BRL, we've been watching since the day was long. Now, we understand what the WNBA was and what the players before her did. But in the social media era, there's no one more important right about now than Caitlin Clark. Because guess what? She brought the viewers in from that from the college basketball tournament that she had. She was able to beat South Carolina, and then the year
And where
after
does
that,
she
she was
and
able
where
to
does
beat
she play,
Missouri.
champ? Where does she
Say again?
play? Indiana, because you've made the argument. Indiana, great basketball state.
Yes, great basketball state. Hell of a sports state, too, because the thing is, the Indiana Fever went to the semifinals. The Indiana Pacers went to the finals, not to mention you got Indiana Jones and Daniel Jones out there lighting it up like a Christmas tree in December on the football field. So it's a hell of a time in order to be an Indiana sports fan. So, and like I stated, the revenue was up and Caitlin Clark wasn't even there this year. It increased like 145% this year, and the demand for tickets went up just as high. So when you think about that, on top of the fact that Caitlin Clark has not been there all season long, imagine what it's going to be once she comes
She's
back.
healthy.
Yes, once she comes back and she's healthy. So for Kathy Engelberger to say something like that, you can have your criticisms of Caitlin Clark, and it's not necessarily Caitlin Clark. You can have criticism of the fans and the people who follow Caitlin Clark, but you cannot deny what Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and Paige Becker has done for this game. And for her to say something like that is asinine. And for a player like Nafisa Correa to pull out the receipts and say that you said something like that, for you to let something come out of your mouth, knowing how intelligent that you are as a commissioner, because those commissioners, they have Jewish doctorate degrees. They are lawyers. They have to know exactly what they're talking about when they go into these marketing meetings and things of that nature. So for you to be that well educated in order to let something come out of your mouth like that, that just goes to show you that some people graduate but be still crazy at a certain point.
It's very alarming. And I just think the question is who's going to be the new commissioner? Which person that do you think, you mentioned that they need a David Stern type of person, or maybe a Roger Goodell or something like that. They need somebody who really cares about doing whatever they can to get people to watch the product. Because you look at Roger Goodell, good or bad, say what you want about Roger Goodell. One thing about him is he's going to find a way to promote. And he's going to try to get casual fans to come watch the NFL. Whether you're a diehard football fan or not, you're going to come in and watch the football and stuff. But speaking of casual fans, what were your thoughts about Bad Bunny? He's going to be the headline for the Super Bowl. Obviously, the president demanded ICE to perform, to be in the Super Bowl, although Bad Bunny is from Puerto Rico, which is U.S. territory. And I know you got a big look on your face.
You kind of put me on the spot here with that, but look, I'm laughing because it's kind of interesting. I'm going to be politically correct on this one. Bad Bunny's American. For those who don't know, he's American. He was born.
Puerto Rico is part of U.S.
Yes, it's a U.S. territory. So if you want to, it's a very, very bad look if you're going to have ICE there in order to detain Americans. I have no problem with Bad Bunny, man. Bad Bunny, look, I'm still learning a lot of things about, speaking the language and stuff like that, because I have to deal with, my job, my real civilian job. I have to do a lot of things. So I have to learn that. So going forward, you can be able to talk to different demographic. So I'm learning it. But it sounds good. I may not know everything he's saying, but it sounds good. Look, people, for those of you who complaining about it, it's purely a money move. It's a money move. You're going to get who draws the money. Bad Bunny draws the money. Do y'all realize that his residency in Puerto Rico has meant almost $1 billion to the Puerto Rican economy? Almost $1 billion. Not to mention, he had the single richest tour in the year 2023, I think. I think that tour grossed over $435 million. And then on top of that, that same year, he appeared in WrestleMania and he hosted Backlash in his home country of Puerto Rico, aka also a United States territory. So it's money. And the thing is, other superstars were asked to perform there. Taylor Swift was asked, she said no. Adele was asked, she said no. Guess what? I'm going to go and get Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny is a hell of an artist. Like I stated, I'm still learning a lot of the words to his songs because guess what? Like I stated, I'm still taking classes and stuff like that.
Spanish.
So yeah,
You ain't the only one. You ain't
yeah.
the only one.
So because sometimes I'll be confused as hell because, like I stated, learning a new language at the age of 37 is kind of hard. That's plus on top of my job. But look, for those of you who are out there talking about it's a slap, especially one John Rocker of all people. I mean, John Rocker, you flat out insulted the state of New York when you played for my Atlanta Braves. So you have no room to talk about anyone as far as being a slap in the face to Americans. You flat out insulted the people of New York back when we was playing the New York Yankees in the World Series. And guess what? I still have not forgotten that because you riled the New York Yankees up and they came out there and beat the crap out of us as a result of your big mouth. So the thing is, how is it a slap to Americans that an American is performing? Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean that it's wrong. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. Guess what? I understand what's going on in the political world. I understand what's going on with ICE and things of that nature. Just because you're uncomfortable doesn't mean it's wrong. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Bad Bunny is a hell of an artist. He's a sellout artist. He is a great American artist. And not to mention, guess what? He had one of the highest grossing tours in history. When you host the WWE, it gets no bigger than that. When you appear on WrestleMania, it gets no bigger than that. When you are able to host a pay-per-view or a PLE event in your home country and bring back out one of the greatest wrestlers of all time from your home country, that being Salvio Vega,
and not only that, he was recently on SNL. He was the host of Saturday Night Live.
Yes. So guess what? When you have all of those accolades all under your belt, and on top of that, you're now being chosen for the Super Bowl, that is nothing short of amazing. And guess what? Think about the global audience that you're going to bring. Think about the global audience that you're going to bring. Look, I'm not going to get political here. Look, us in this country, we have to stop being so nearsighted that we can't see the trees for the stars. We can't see the forest for the trees. We have to stop being so nearsighted and so closed-minded that we can't understand how that's going to be a global phenomenon. Bad Bunny draws fans outside of the United States. He draws fans globally. So guess what? Can you imagine what those ratings are going to look like? Him doing that, him being on the biggest stage, him being on the biggest football game in the history of this great nation, it's going to draw more fans than we can ever know. And guess what? With him drawing the fans to his concert, it's going to also draw fans in order to increase the ratings of the Super Bowl. Not everybody watches football. I know that in this country, we all watch football, but not everybody outside of the U.S. watches football. So with him performing, that's going to bring a lot more of an audience to the football and to the product. People need to stop being so closed-minded. And look, I'm just going to be real. There's a jazz artist that I love by the name of Chris Bodie. He hasn't performed at the Super Bowl. Kenny G, I don't think he has performed at the Super Bowl. There's a lot of artists, of my favorite artists, jazz artists, country artists, they have not been asked to perform at the Super Bowl. And if your favorite artist has not been asked to perform at the Super Bowl, then maybe they're just not the draw that you think they are. Maybe they're just not the draw that you think they are. Bad Bunny, let's just take the politics out of it. Bad Bunny draws the money. He drew money for himself. He drew money for the WWE, and he drew money in his own home country. Like I stated, his impact on his residency in his home country draws almost $1 billion. And that's just in Puerto Rico. So guess what, man? You got 4 months to learn Spanish. Go ahead and learn it. Suck it up. Because I'm learning mine. I want to know exactly what he's saying. So you got 4 months to learn Spanish. I agree with Bad Bunny, man. Bring it. Look. And I hope he performs every single verse in Spanish just to piss people off. Go ahead, let him perform it. If you want to be so closed-minded and so ignorant to the point that you will cast out one of your fellow Americans, then guess what? I want you to be very offended when he performs. I want you to be so offended that you turn the TV off and the ratings still get over 1 billion. That's how angry I want you to be. And everybody, look, as far as everybody talk about, they're going to boycott. Yeah, you said the same thing last year when Kendrick Lamar performed, and he had the highest ratings in Super Bowl history.
133.5.
Exactly, right behind Michael Jackson and Prince. So boycott your ass on and go sit down in your trailer.
First of all, still a lot of my thunder, but as usual, great minds think alike.
Yes, indeed.
I want to read the tweet referring to John Rocker, the former baseball player of the Atlanta Braves. He said, Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl is a slap in the face to the American people. There's no reason that such a patriotic event needs to be stained by a cross-dressing singer who hardly speaks English. Excuse me. Bullshit. That's number one. Because it's not American. It's not American. It's global. Jay-Z, whatever you want to say about Jay-Z, ever since he came in with the NFL, collaborating with the NFL, he's found ways to get the big artists who draw and make money. And he has done his part helping the NFL make money. Look at 2020. J-Lo and Shakira. They performed in the Super Bowl, although they haven't released although they didn't release so many albums back in 2020. But still, the Latin culture, Miami, Florida, J-Lo, Shakira, we all know what cultural icons they are. 2021, The Weeknd. 2022, Los Angeles, Dr. Dre, Snoop, Mary J, 50, Eminem. Although they're older, but still big time. Cali, they know what draw is. 2023, Rihanna. And this is while she was pregnant. Then 2024, Usher. And then last year, Kendrick Lamar. Of course, they picked Kendrick last year because obviously he was the big draw in 2024, particularly with the diss track Not Like Us, which also won Grammy. And Kendrick had a huge year with the Grammys that year. So I don't want to hear that with people saying it's American. No, it's about money. It's about the NFL doing whatever it can. Super Bowl is not just an American event. It's everyone's event. Doesn't matter if you're in USA, Africa, Mexico, whatever. It's global. NFL is going to do whatever they can to grow and evolve the sport. Why do you think they have games at London? Why do you think they're trying to do games every single... Didn't Commissioner Goodell say he was going to do at least 17, 18 games in London?
Yeah, the 16 to 17 games outside of the United States. And the thing is, they're trying to go global with the sport. It's a global sport. They're trying to make it as big now as, let's say, soccer is. Well, you know, I would say football, not American football. There's a difference. Soccer, I will say, they're trying to make this as big as globally as soccer is globally, as baseball is globally. That's what they're trying to do.
Right. And for
go ahead.
And for people who have a problem with that, champ, as far as I'm concerned, you wasting my time. If I'm the NFL, I'm like, all right, I'll hit you with the deuces. And the other thing I cannot stand with people like John Rocker or people who are some MAGA supporters and others, y'all keep saying, keep politics out of sports. Keep politics out of sports. NFL's trying to make money. Why are you trying to knock them for making money? Oh, and by the way, why is Bad Bunny performing? He's in Puerto Rico. Again, part of the U.S. And he draws. He makes the money. He sells. He was recently on Saturday Night Live. As you mentioned, champ, $1 billion. He was on WrestleMania, WWE. So, of course, the NFL, they know the game. Why do you think we've had so many conversations why the NFL is the king of football? Because not only people miss football, football is the most popular sport in America, but it draws, it sells in this country. And that is what Commissioner Goodell and the rest of the NFL is trying to do. And if they want to bring in Bad Bunny to perform in the Super Bowl, so be it. Last time I checked, President Trump, you, Laura Ingraham, and so many others say, keep politics out of sports or tell athletes to shut up and dribble. why don't you shut your ass up and do your job politicking? Shut up and politic. Shut up and do your job. Because clearly, since you've done your job as president, I don't need to go any further. Because look at the economy. Look at all the issues that's going on, champ. I know you're hesitant to say that, but hell, I'll say it. Because again, I said it last time. Remember me, BRF, when we talked about with Trump trying to demanding Washington to go back to the original name? No, Mr. President. Do your job focusing on president. Focus on politics. You continuously say keep politics out of sports. Isn't that what you're doing, contradicting yourself?
I believe that he has a vendetta towards the NFL.
Obviously, because he wanted to have ownership of the Bills, and I understand that, champ.
Even before before he joined the USFL, the old USFL back in the 80s, he wanted to join the NFL team. They wouldn't let him in because he was supposed to buy the Dallas Cowboys before Jerry did. You know, he actually had a bid in order to do that, but you know they wouldn't let him in even back then. So you have to ask yourself about personal vendettas at this point. Not only that, man, look, we can't say keep politics out of sports and then pay tribute to political figures when they pass away. We can't sit around here and say keep politics out of sports, but yet everybody wants to applaud when Nick Bosa wears the MAGA hat and shows it on television. And like I said, I don't have no problem with you showing your political belief. I don't have a problem with it. Okay, you can show yours. But the thing is, I don't like them damn double standards.
But that's my point, champ.
Yeah,
that's my point, champ.
Then guess what? We should be allowed to express ourselves. Okay,
that's my problem, champ. The hypocrisy.
Yes,
that is the problem that I have. You tell athlete like you, Laura Ingraham, you told LeBron James to shut up and dribble, all because LeBron had criticism of President Trump. Mm-hmm. But remember Drew Brees, remember the things that he said about the flag and the national anthem at the time in 2020, champ, that caused that was controversy.
Yeah.
You said no, he's an American citizen. He has a right to be entitled to his opinion.
Yes, she did. Okay. And like I stated, I have no problem with somebody talking about politics or sports. I have no problem with it. You can talk about it all you want to. But the thing is this, don't tell somebody else, don't tell one side to shut up and dribble just because you feel uncomfortable all of a sudden. And all of a sudden you cringe when something controversial gets brought up, but yet you want to applaud your side. That's the thing. I don't have no problem with either side. Guess what? You can voice your opinion. I want to hear it. I want to listen to it. I want to see if you have a valid point or an ignorant point. That's the thing that I'm about. I'm about openness. But the thing is, you're not going to sit around here and tell me about my political beliefs. Or you just need to shut up and dribble, or you need to shut up a podcast while Joey Bosa and guys like that gets to go around there and they get to show how proud they are. Guess what? If they can be proud of their politics and whatever they proud of, then guess what? Other players can applaud that. And guess what? Look. If you're going to keep politics out of sports, keep it all the way out.
Thank you.
And the thing is, keep it all the way out. So if we lose another political figure, rest in peace, not going to say his name here, but if we lose another political figure, then guess what? Make sure the NFL doesn't put them on there, doesn't pay any tributes. If we lose anybody outside of the NFL, let's just leave it at that. So let's just be very, very honest with ourselves. Do you really want to keep politics out of sports, or do you only want to keep the ones that you're uncomfortable with out of sports? Because guess what? I will say this, just because one side is talking about something doesn't make it woke. Just because you're uncomfortable, just like something that the other side may say is not racist just because it makes me uncomfortable. Guess what? You got to hear both sides of the story. That's why we are a country. And for people to keep talking about shut up and dribble and Bad Bunny and things of that nature, he is an American citizen. He is a freaking American citizen. There's been a lot of un-American citizens that has been on there. And guess what? Look, and this ain't the first time, well, he doesn't agree with ICE. Hell, we saw the Dixie Chicks, they didn't agree with the shit that damn George Bush was did. But guess what? They were still allowed to voice their damn opinion. Now they got blackballed at the end of the day, but guess what? They were still allowed to voice their opinion on how they disagreed in the war in Iraq. And I have no problem with that. that they voiced that opinion, although I was one of the soldiers that fought in that very damn war. Guess what? If you have an opinion, guess what? What are we going to do? Muffle everybody that don't agree with us? If that was the case, we might as well be under the dictatorship at this point.
And not only that, Chip, we are America. I thought we were entitled to speech. I thought we were entitled to an opinion. We're entitled to our opinion. That's what makes our country so great. But it doesn't seem like, hey, unless you're online with my politics, shut up. Don't say anything. And that is where I have a problem with. And look, you and I, Chip, and we'll say this again. Although we don't agree with his politics, his political viewpoints or standpoints, we love ourselves The Undertaker.
Yes.
And if Undertaker wants to come on our pod, we would love that. It would be an honor and a privilege to actually have someone like The Undertaker on our pod. Would I still want to talk to Undertaker, despite the fact that he's a Republican and he voted for President Trump? Yeah, I'll still talk to him. Mike Tyson. I love Mike Tyson. I'm a diehard Mike Tyson fan. He is a supporter for President Trump, although for obvious reasons. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm still going to talk to Mike Tyson. And whether I agree or disagree, and I'll disagree, at the same time, I'm not going to tell him to shut up. I'm not going to tell him to go jump on a lake or whatever. My thing is, look, you may not have to agree or disagree, but look, I'm entitled to my opinion, to express myself with my opinions. If you just don't, if you're saying, okay, you're not a fan of Bad Bunny's music, okay, fine. Although I disagree, that's your choice, but prerogative. But for people like John Rocker to say, well, he shouldn't perform in the Super Bowl because it's an American event, that's bullshit. Okay, it's global. NFL is trying to grow. NFL is trying to do whatever they can to make money. It's about the money. It's about the bottom line. It's about growing. And no one can argue or dispute that Bad Bunny is a huge, huge draw. To your point, Champ, they've mentioned other artists to perform in the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift, Adele, they said no. So outside of artists like that, can you name someone that a bigger draw than Bad Bunny? And you might as well go with it if you're the NFL. So my thing is, President Trump, people like President Trump and so many others, they keep saying keep politics out of sports, but now you're trying to add politics into sports by bringing in ICE. It's in California. A lot of Hispanics live around in California. And Bad Bunny is a part of the United States. Because Puerto Rico, in case if people don't understand geography, I still have issues with geography from time to time. It's a part of the U.S. territory. No, actually, I do. As far as I am, Champ, I'm not.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you was being sarcastic. My fault. No, I thought you were being sarcastic. My fault.
No, sometimes my little brother and my mom do educate me from time to time. I'm not big when it comes to like all the international and global stuff. But thank God I listen to people like you because you make my job a hell of a lot easier. So for those who have a problem, like I said, with the Bad Bunny performing in the Super Bowl, shut up. There are far more important things you could be concerned or worried about. I don't have a problem with Bad Bunny performing in the Super Bowl. NFL's going to do what's best for them. It's about money. It's about business. It's about growing and evolving the sport and competing against soccer. Because we all know globally, soccer is the biggest sport in this world. And the NFL is trying to do whatever they can to compete against soccer. And if that's the blueprint, because of course, what's the biggest sporting event of all? The Super Bowl. Yeah. The halftime show, the commercials, everything else, the festivities. What better way than bring in a draw like Bad Bunny? So what's the big deal?
I agree. And if you have a problem with Bad Bunny, how about you do what Tubi did last year? They brought in their own performers last year. Why don't y'all partner? If you have such a problem with Bad Bunny, why don't you partner with the network and see if you can throw your own type of halftime show? Hell, Vince McMahon did.
And how's that going to sell?
Yeah. And see how it sells. If you outdraw Bad Bunny, then that's fine. Remember, Halftime Heat, they outdrew the NFL halftime show when Mankind and The Rock won at it. You know, last year they had, a little concert on Tubi. They have little concerts, a little bit of everywhere on different networks about halftime show. They're not the only halftime show, but they're just the only one on the Super Bowl. But yeah, if you think that your favorite artist can outdraw Bad Bunny, have them put on their own show during that time and see if they can draw. And if they can outdraw Bad Bunny, then guess what? I will tip my hat and every head must bow and confess. But until then, guess what? Just be quiet about it and just look. If you're if you're so closed-minded that you're not able to just hear the music and take it for what it is entertainment, then guess what? Like I said, you just if you cannot stop being closed-minded enough to just say, look, this is something new I've never experienced before. Let me just hear it out. If you're not open-minded enough about that, then I want you to be offended. And I hope he does every verse of Spanish. And I hope that he does everything. I hope he wears the most offensive thing that he could possibly find. And guess what? I want you to be offended. Because guess what? If you're that close-minded to the point that you're not able to hear someone out, to the point where you're just able to put blinders on and only hear your point of view, then guess what? Go ahead and be offended. I don't have no problem with you being offended. Offend yourself.
I'm kind of concerned though, Champ, because again, I don't want. Remember when you said about Josh Allen, how when he won the MVP, how you rightfully so called out people by saying it was the DEI award? I don't want anything like that.
Yeah, stop. Look, and I will say that to this day, that was not a damn DEI award by Josh Allen. He won that fair and square. The NFL kept the same energy. It wasn't about stats neither years. It was about who was more of an impact on their team than Josh Allen was. And I hate it when people said that, because that is offensive to people who are actually going through that, whether they be white, black, or woman, or anything else. That's offensive to what they're actually going through. But in any event, like I stated, look, Bad Bunny, there's nothing. He draws the money. He does his job. He's more than qualified to be on the Super Bowl. If you look at every artist that has been on the Super Bowl, Nelly, Mary J. Blige, he's right on par as far as being a draw with every single last one of them. And like I keep saying, I don't mean to be repetitive, he is worth $1 billion to his home state's economy. He's worth over $1 billion to that economy when he does his residency. So guess what? If he's able to pull that into his country and be that much of an impact, and has had the highest grossing tours, one of the highest grossing tours in history, was a guest on WrestleMania, hosted Backlash in his hometown, then guess what? Let's be open-minded and see what he can do on the biggest stage. Now, if he's not able to draw, then guess what? You can say, I told you so. But get a guy a chance and stop being so close-minded to the point where, guess what? You just want to bury your head in the sand, and every time something makes you uncomfortable, it's just always that's a slap in the face, especially John Rocker's behind. You're a disgrace. You out here said what you said about the people of New York. Then you're out here fighting Patrick Mahomes' dad in the damn streets like a fool. And then you have the nerve to talk about someone who's a slap in the face. You are the biggest slap in the face.
Well, Champ, like you told me, get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because you need it.
Exactly. Look, America, this is a veteran talking. Guess what? In order to grow, you got to be uncomfortable. And guess what? If you're uncomfortable, get more uncomfortable, because guess what? In order for us to grow as a nation, especially during these times, you're going to have to learn to be uncomfortable, because a lot of damn people who thought comfort was coming are very uncomfortable right about now. You see it every damn day. So I hope this I hope this level of discomfort continues to uncomfort you, because guess what? This is a time where a lot of us have to grow. So just keep getting uncomfortable, keep getting edgy and cringing. I want to see that, because you have to do in order to do that.
In the words of Ben Franklin, there could be no justice until people who are unaffected are as equally outraged as those who are.
Exactly.
Big fella, I don't want to take too much of your time, because I know you got the pod and everything else you got to do later on. What were your thoughts on UCLA defeating Penn State? I mean, UCLA, they were 0-3. They fired the head coach, Deshaun Foster. Unexpectedly, they beat Penn State. They were up like 20-something to 7 at halftime. Penn State, you're coming off a devastating loss in overtime to Oregon. We all know Penn State's record going up against top teams, whether top 5, top 10, top 25. with this loss now, you're out of the top 25, as well as Texas. They just lost to Florida 21. How much worse could it be for Penn State? Because there were a lot of expectations. Allar, the quarterback, he was coming back. He decided to stay another year. James Franklin, man, it doesn't look pretty good. And for you to lose to UCLA, given the circumstances, and we've talked about how Arch Manning, how bad he is. Nico ain't much better. What were your thoughts?
James Franklin is in trouble. He's in trouble. And
because we talked about Ryan Day not beating Michigan. Have you seen his record?
Yeah, and I said last year he's the Kirby Smart of the Big Ten. I said that last year before he even lost, before he even won a national championship. The same thing Kirby Smart still has that curse on him right now, even after we beat Bama in the national championship. He still has that curse on us right now. We just cannot beat Alabama.
1-7.
We 1-7 against Alabama, but we got 2 natties. But unfortunately for James Franklin, he's more Lane Kiffin than he is Kirby Smart. He's more Lane Kiffin than he is Kirby Smart. He loses against teams that he's supposed to beat. He loses the big games. He can't handle the big moments, and it seems to just get the better of him every single time. And if they don't make the college football playoff this year, or at least come within an eyelash, I'm afraid it might be the beginning of the end for James Franklin. This is a team, especially for you to lose against a team that has no coaching stability. Not only did the coach get fired, half of the darn staff got fired. Half of the darn staff is gone. And then there was questions about Nico coming into this game because he had played well during that 0-3 start, and it was a lot of questions on this team. Last week against Oregon, that was excusable. That's a big game. Oregon's a big time school. The speed, the power.
Okay, no shame.
No beat, and so be it. No shame in losing to a team that's just as good, if not better than you. Well, for you to come out here and lose against a lackluster team, that's going to stir up a lot of trouble if you're not able to reach the college football playoffs, because that's not Penn State football. Penn State football is defense, linebackers, running the ball, playing the best that you could be, getting ball control. And now that you have a dynamic quarterback like Drew Allar, you should be able to make big plays down the field. Now, credit to the Penn State, the Lions, they tried to make a huge comeback, but they waited a little bit too late. It was too little too late at a certain point. It's kind of like the Bruno Mars incident. I just want to apologize for my mistakes, but I know I'm just way too late. So, yeah, they don't make the playoffs at this moment in time because there's still time. There's still time. They don't make the college football playoffs, though. You might be singing another tune at the end of the year. Nah, 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 nah. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye to James Franklin, because, yeah, he's already gotten a bad rap the last couple of years. And I think making the college football playoffs last year kind of saved his job, especially with him being able to make a deep run. But this year, having that big devastating loss, if they're not able to recover from it and at least make the college football playoffs and win a big game this year, we might be singing another tune about goodbye when it comes to James Franklin, man, because that's not Penn State football right there. You have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Yeah, definitely. Alabama's starting to get their act together. They just beat Vanderbilt. They're looking pretty good, man. They finally starting to get their mojo back-to-back victories against top 25 teams, Georgia and Vanderbilt. Ty Simpson is looking like an early Heisman candidate so far. I think there's him. There's Carson Beck. He could make the other argument for the Ole Miss QB, and Jeremiah Smith. There's also Jeremiah Love out of Notre Dame. What are your thoughts about Alabama? Because I know you can't stand Alabama. How do you feel, man?
Hey, look, I don't like Alabama, but guess that's because y'all keep beating my Georgia Bulldogs and breaking my heart. I don't like Alabama, but I respect Alabama for how much of a football powerhouse that they really are at this point. And the fact that, look, a lot of times people think that you're dead and buried when, in fact, you're being planted. I think that loss to Florida State was a wake-up call for the Tide, and they were able to capitalize off that loss. I think that they were able to capitalize off that loss, and they have not turned off the gas ever since. They have not turned off the gas ever since. Now, they have a gauntlet coming up. They have Tennessee next week, and then they have Oklahoma. Then they have to run the gauntlet over the course of the next couple of weeks. They have to pay 5 top 25 teams over the course of the next like 3 to 4, the next like 7 weeks. So it's going to be a gauntlet. But if they're able to win the table, then guess what? That investment that they made in Kellen DeVore is nothing sort of amazing. And look, Ty Simpson, you can't rattle him. You can't rattle him. He's out there airing it out like a ceiling fan. He's out there airing it out. And I'm so surprised that Ryan Williams doesn't get just as much credit as Jeremiah Smith does, because he's just as good as a player.
He's been having some drop issues, unfortunately for him, Chap. I mean, you even saw it in that game against Georgia. Even one of the CBS Sports reporters even called him out and said, "Where are you?" But Ryan Williams, outside of the drops, I mean, he can run the route tree. He's speed. He's elusive. He's got a lot of dynamic skills, man. So he just has to work on the drop issue. I think he'll be fine. And with Ty Simpson, he's really accurate, really poised, but he's more mobile than give it credit for. So speaking of another Alabama quarterback, thank you as always, because I know you saw the episode I did on Mac Jones. I'll say it and I'll say it again, man. Look, Bill Belichick, he failed Mac Jones because this was the right type of quarterback that you had around you. I mean, come on, champ. Josh McDaniels and Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia was your OC. Joe Judge at one point was your OC. I mean, come on. It's like you always say. It's kind of like going to Vietnam with a BB gun. I mean, come on. You put Mac Jones may not be the most spectacular quarterback in the world, but how could anyone would work under those types of circumstances, champ? I've said it, and I'll keep on saying this, and I said this at the time when the 49ers, they made a mistake taking Trey Lance rather than Mac Jones. Because can you imagine if you put Mac Jones on that roster? I think they would go just as far, just like you saw with Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. And the other argument that I will make, and I will release it in the video later on, I think for the San Francisco 49ers, you might as well go with Mac Jones for the remainder of the season. Because if this is the type of Mac Jones that I'm getting, I might as well go with it. I'm winning games. And on top of that, San Francisco, they've been decimated with injuries. And we talk about Shane Steichen as coach of the year, and rightfully so. But why not Kyle Shanahan? Look, say what you want about Kyle Shanahan as far as with his clock management issues, the Super Bowl, all that stuff. You're not going to name too many offensive play callers better than him. And the fact that the 49ers are 4-1. And Mac Jones got hit a lot in that game. He almost threw up in that game. I don't know if anyone saw it on the sideline. He almost threw up. Matt Stafford played well, but the fumbles, Blake Corum, and then the big Alfred Collins, who punched the ball out of Kieran Williams' hands. Now, again, the 4th and 1 on overtime, I don't mind them going for it because the kicker had issues. He missed the extra point and the previous field goal. Although you can make the argument, well, he did hit a field goal to put it in overtime. But in 4th and 1, analytics will always say, hey, go with the offense, go with the flow. But Mac Jones, man, again, I'm not saying that draft Mac Jones 3rd overall. Mac Jones is going to be an all-time great quarterback, but you got to think of style, offense, fit, system. Mac Jones is a perfect ideal fit for Kyle Shanahan's offense because we've seen Kyle Shanahan work with less tier quarterbacks, and look what he's done with them. And to your point, this could help Mac Jones get an opportunity to go to Pittsburgh. Because we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to come back next year. Who knows? He may retire. So what are your thoughts on Mac Jones?
One thing's for sure, 2 things are certain. There's always going to be a quarterback controversy in San Francisco, man. There's always going to be a quarterback controversy in San Francisco, whether it be Montana and Steve Young, whether it be Colin Kaepernick and Alex Smith, whether it be Jimmy Garoppolo and Brock Purdy. Now it's Brock Purdy against Mac Jones. Look, coaching matters. Coaching matters. I hope that a lot of these NFL teams are looking at these players and understand that coaching matters. Development matters. Taking your time with rookie quarterbacks, making sure you don't set them up for failure happens. Ironically, Mac Jones had his best season when he was under the tutelage of Josh McDaniels in the
rookie year.
Yeah, his rookie year, made Pro Bowl. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Took him to the playoffs.
So, coaching matters. And no coach personified that other than Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh showed a lot of these coaches that, hey, I could draft a player and turn him to what I need him to be with a little bit of with a lot of coaching versus you trying to push someone out there and just make them the savior of the franchise. So I'll say this, Mac Jones is doing darn good. I think that if he keeps winning, it's going to produce a quarterback controversy. I don't think they should have played Brock Purdy all of that money without, really going another season. I understand that everybody's trying to make sure that they don't go into cap hell, but guess what? In this system, a lot of quarterbacks can succeed. And look, you went to a Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo.
And Brock Purdy.
Yeah, so it's not like neither one of these guys were world beaters and Hall of Famers, guys. Let's just keep it all the way above. And look, Mac Jones, what makes it even more impressive is, look, there is no Deebo Samuels on that team. There is no Brandon Ayuk. There is no George Kittle. I mean, Juwan Jennings, I think he got hurt. So,
and Ricky Pearsall was there, but still, they find ways to win, champ.
Find ways to win.
And I've said this before, and you agreed with me because I saw your IG story. Doesn't that speak to how Bill Belichick, how the way he failed them in New England?
Yeah.
And and we give Belichick this aura because, again, rightfully so, he's a 6-time Super Bowl champion head coach. I'm not saying I know more football than Bill Belichick, but at the same time, Bill, you haven't been the same without Tom Brady. I'm looking at the last couple of years in New England, and I'm not even going to talk about the college football, especially what happened to you yesterday against Clemson. We won't talk about that. I'll give you fairness to that, champ. You say, hey, give him some grace. He doesn't have enough talent, enough pieces to work with. Let's see as time moves on. If we can do that with Deion Sanders, fine. We can do that with Bill Belichick. But my thing is with Mac Jones, all this stuff about him, because he had talent around him in Alabama. Yeah, of course, you've had great weapons around you in Alabama, but still in all, you got to deliver the football. He's not flashy or spectacular, but as you always say, Chip, don't be pretty. Be good. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. Even though the Eagles lost, Jalen Hurts, for the most part, has been pretty good. Is he elite or pretty? The flashiest? No. Is he like the top? Is he like sweet potato pie or any type of sweet delicious dessert? No, but he's good and effective. And when you look at Mac Jones, man, just give the young kids some talent to work with and somebody to work with. And you're seeing that with San Francisco. And I've said it before, man, they should have went with Mac Jones right away. Because if you needed a quarterback right away to produce, or either between Jimmy Garoppolo or Mac Jones, Trey Lance, you said it before, projects. You said that with Anthony Richardson. You said that with Will Levis. And you've watched a lot of SEC football, and you were never that big or sold on Will Levis nor Anthony Richardson. And we didn't see that much football from Trey Lance.
No.
But they picked them because prototype 6'4", 237, cannon of an arm, athletic ability. People are trying to look for the next Cam or next Josh Allen. And look how that turned out. I mean, they traded to Dallas. They got a 4th-round pick, and now he's with the Chargers.
Yeah. Teams, look, listen. A lot of teams have to get Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Those are anomalies. And they had coaching. Coaching matters. If you don't believe that, look at Baker Mayfield. Look at Sam Darnold. Look at them. All of them, high draft picks, didn't succeed in the first place they went. End up being a journeyman. Got some coaching. Flourished. Development and coaching matters. Not just saying you're the savior of the franchise, throwing you out there to the wolves. And Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, they were developmental quarterbacks, but they were anomalies. They were able to come in and make an instant impact because guess what? They were just that talented and just that great, and their skills were underestimated. But for every team to be trying to go after these type of quarterbacks is kind of crazy because guess what? If that quarterback doesn't have the right culture around them, they're not going to flourish. They're not. We've seen this before. We've seen it before. And I wish that teams will understand that coaching matters. It's not just, drafting a quarterback because he has a rocket arm and you think he's going to be the same. No, it's coaching. And I said this before and I said it again. When Trey Lance did not succeed in San Francisco, that just goes to show you that he was just that bad. Because guess what? Look at what Kyle Shanahan has done. He went to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo, went to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy. Got Brock Purdy paid. Now, Mac Jones out there looking like Joe Montana. Peak Joe Montana. There's been 2 quarterback controversies since Kyle Shanahan has been in San Francisco. Brock Purdy versus Jimmy Garoppolo. Now Mac Jones versus Brock Purdy, the guy who he got paid. So yeah, that's what coaching does. Coaching is key. I mean, I just can't put it no better than that. I'm glad Mac Jones is. You know what? Although he's Alabama, and Alabama, you break my heart every time we play. I'm glad because he is out of the SEC, and I love to see the Southern guys shine. But Mac Jones is out of the SEC, and I'm loving what I'm seeing, man. Like I said, if he doesn't end up being the quarterback for San Francisco long term, I would love to see him go to Pittsburgh. They need some quarterback stability there, and that would be perfect for him.
Maybe Miami. Because you're not sure with Tua, with his health.
They got to get Mike McDaniel out of there.
Well, they got to get Mike McDaniel out there, but can you imagine Mac Jones? He doesn't have to worry about throwing the ball that deep because he's not known for having the strongest arm, but with Jalen Waddle and some pieces that they have to work with. So they got to fire Mike McDaniel. Unfortunately, they can't do anything with Tua because you just paid him a ton of money, and Tua doesn't have a lot of trade value given his production and durability history. Tyreek wants out. I believe they're going to do whatever they can. And unfortunately for Tyreek, he's gone for the rest of the season because of that injury. Hearts and prayers go to him.
Yes, indeed.
But yeah, like I said before with Mac Jones, man, I just think we really got to stop putting so much. We got to really stop putting these quarterbacks on such a pedestal. Because you mentioned this. Hey, is CJ Stroud? Did we crown him too prematurely? And look, I still believe CJ is a great I still believe he can be a great quarterback, champ. Let's not pretend or act as if he's a bust. I'm not saying you've ever called him a bust, but I do think too many times, though, when quarterbacks perform right away and produce, we expect him to be the next thing. I mean, look at Jaden Daniels now. I still believe in Jaden Daniels. He's our quarterback, but so far these past couple of games, he hasn't played like the Jaden Daniels of last year. Do I see that continuing for the rest of his career? No, I do believe as time will evolve, he will get better and better and better. But unfortunately, the league has caught up. So now he's got to catch up to the league. That's all I look at. And plus, the reason why I'm not going to be too hard on CJ, champ, because you've often said on my show several times, not just on my pod, Brandon's pod, your pod, and several pods, the quarterback cannot throw on his back. And look, with Mac Jones, I just don't think he was surrounded with enough talent, enough of the right people around him in New England. I mean, come on, champ. Matt Patricia, of all people, and Joe Judge as your offensive coordinators, that's kind of like I said, chitlins and potty meat. That's kind of like what you having for dinner. Or you having Kendrick Perkins giving you a basketball take. That's just how bad it was in New England. No, I'm serious. That's just how bad it was, man. Because if that's what you're trying to give me, I want no parts of it.
Hey, coaching matters. And look, unfortunately, the offensive packages that we saw when Tom Brady was there, his first 10 years was not there when Mac Jones got there. you got to remember, although a lot of the coaches didn't succeed long term, they had some type of success. When Tom Brady first got to New England, you had not only Bill Belichick, you had Charlie Weiss, you had Romeo Crennel, you had Josh McDaniels, you had Bill O'Brien, you had those type of coaches. Each one of them may not have Eric Mangini. Each one of those coaches has had, whether it be a winning season with another team or something of that nature, they had success in their own right, with the exception of Josh McDaniels. When you think about Charlie Weiss, remember those couple brilliant seasons that he had in Notre Dame, and that thrilling game that he had against USC back when they were at their peak. Remember that. Remember Romeo Crennel was able to lead the team in the Cleveland Browns to a 10-6 record. Mangini was able to lead the team to a playoff berth. The only person that wasn't, Bill O'Brien, although everybody has their criticisms about Bill O'Brien, he was able to lead the Houston Texans to the playoffs a couple times with Deshaun Watson.
Although he self-destructed.
Yeah, he self-destructed very, very badly, but he was able to win a division title down there. So each one of those coaches, with the exception of Josh McDaniels, has had success within their own right. Mac Jones didn't have it. He had Josh McDaniels his rookie year. Then after that, Josh McDaniels went on to be a disaster in Las Vegas, right on the heels of the John Gruden disaster. So when you put that into perspective, you're absolutely right. New England failed. Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, the pencil guy. Matt Patricia is a defensive coordinator. He's not an offensive guy. So when you put that into perspective, they didn't have the pieces there in order for him to compete. They didn't have the coaching there. Bill Belichick is a defensive coach. He's not an offensive coach. And I don't put that a lot on him. A lot of coaches, they're not able to succeed without their legacy quarterback. There's not that many coaches that that can go out and succeed and win Super Bowls without their legacy quarterback, because the guy who follows up with them is not going to be necessarily as good. When you think about Mike Holmgren, he was able to win a Super Bowl with Brett Favre. He wasn't able to win one with Matt Hasselbeck. He wasn't able to win one with him.
But at the same time, Champ, Belichick is not only a head coach, he's also the one making football decisions. He has final say with this roster. So unfortunately, that is kind of on him by putting Matt Patricia as a DC. And look, we didn't really care that much. Perhaps we did because we looked at Bill Belichick, his aura, the 6-time Super Bowl champion head coach. But it's about, what have you done for me lately? In the words of Janet Jackson, It's about scheme. It's about fit. And for Belichick, of all people, to do that, that is clueless. Whether anybody wants to admit it or not, that is just the truth. Why would anybody put their quarterback, regardless if he wasn't going to be the guy for them, why would you put them under those types of circumstances?
Absolutely.
But speaking of unfortunate circumstances, Lord, we eating a lot of crow. Baltimore Ravens. They are 1-4 this season. They've lost their best defensive tackle, Madubuike, due to a neck injury. Lamar Jackson's going to be out for a few weeks. They were also out with some noticeable players. Champ, just when you thought things couldn't get any worse for the Baltimore Ravens, it did. They lost 44 to 10 against the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud, 23 to 27, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns. Mind you, the only interesting stat, Champ, because we all know how bad Houston's offensive line is. He was only sacked twice in that game.
Damn.
He was only sacked twice in that game. Nick Chubb, your former Georgia Bulldog, didn't ask to do that much, 11 carries, but he did have 61 yards, an average of 5.5 yards a carry, including including a touchdown. CJ Stroud only had 1 yard, but for 1 carry, but for 30 yards. The Houston Texans had 167 rushing yards. Baltimore gave up a total of 417 yards on offense and 44 points. Champ, Baltimore, without question, has to be the biggest disappointment in football because we had them as a top candidate to come out of the AFC, especially coming off the disappointing playoff game against Buffalo. All the acquisitions that they made from drafting Malachi Starks, they also got DeAndre Hopkins and stuff. What do you? They got to fire Zach Orr. By the way, you see the defense. You see the new former defensive coordinator from the Baltimore Ravens, who is now the head coach for Seattle. He's done a damn good job with this team, and that Baltimore's defense is worse. They in Dallas, they're like the worst defense in football as far as with yards, points. They're losing their soul, man. Because when you think Baltimore, you think their days of defense from Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, Haloti Ngata, Tony Siragusa, rest his soul. And it's looking, oh my God, it's just looking that damn bad, Chap. What are your thoughts?
They're the Houston Oilers of this generation. They're the Houston Oilers of this generation. They didn't take advantage of their opportunity. They didn't take advantage. Twice they've had a chance in the playoffs in order to advance. I mean, and you could blame Lamar, you could blame, but that's what happened when you don't play with the urgency that you need to play for. You end up in situations like this where the window is slowly, or the window, at least for the year, closes. That's why you got to take advantage of every opportunity. If you remember correctly, Houston, much like the Baltimore Ravens, was one of the most talented teams in football in the early 90s, led by a legendary quarterback in the form of Warren Moon. And remember, in 93, they had everything going against them. They had everything going for them. They not only was bringing in the top offense in the league, they were out there hiring Buddy Ryan, one of the greatest defensive minds of all time. They was able to go from 1-4 to 12-4, get a bye week and go into the playoffs. And guess what? Joe Montana's last miracle beat them. Baltimore Ravens are the Houston Oilers of this generation. They have all the talent in the world. They have good coaching, regardless of what you think about John Harbaugh. They have good coaching, but they're not playing with the urgency that they need to play with at this point. And guess what? When you don't play with the urgency that you need to, then things like this happen, and it sets you back at least a year. You can't blame drafting. They drafted some of the best players in the draft. They had a hell of a draft. Can't blame it on. Before Lamar Jackson went out, they had one of the top offenses in the league. So you can't blame it on the offense. Although Lamar is culpable, is going to be held accountable because he is the quarterback. Can't blame the offense. They're doing everything they needed. They did everything they needed to do prior to Lamar going out. But when you think about the team as a whole, not having the urgency in order to complete the task and understanding the assignment of winning the Super Bowl, much like Houston did back in the early days. And much like Houston, they have a litany of Pro Bowlers in Baltimore. At one point they had like 12. I think they had 10 Pro Bowlers at their peak last year.
Let me look that up.
I think they had 10, 12 Pro Bowlers last year. Much like Houston Oilers did back in 93. But I really think they're there. And look, and they have a hell of an offensive-minded coach. I would know that. He won
9.
Yes.
No, they had 9. They had 9 Pro Bowlers named to the Pro Bowl, which is the most since 2019. I'm reading.
Yes, much like the Houston Oilers. Or if you want to get a little bit deeper and go modern day times, to San Diego Chargers. Legendary quarterback, good coaching, good defense, good offense, legendary running back. Legendary. Just not able to get over the hump. And if they don't get a Super Bowl with this team, arguably one of the most talented teams in history, much like the Oilers, much like the Chargers, then they're not going to be remembered kindly, especially Lamar. One of the most dynamic quarterbacks in the history of the game, 2-time MVP. Could have won his 3rd one last year. Had one of the greatest seasons to not win the MVP because not only did he throw for over 4,000 yards, had 40 touchdowns on the 4 picks, had over 900 yards rushing, one of the best seasons that you're not going to see win an MVP.
Outside of Drew Brees in 2011.
Outside of Drew Brees. One of the best seasons. I mean, offense. And then you have one of the best running backs, arguably in modern day times, since LaDainian Tomlinson and Adrian Peterson. Had one of his greatest seasons, 1,900 yards. The only running back in NFL history to rush for over 1,900 and not win a rushing title. Yeah, they're going to be remembered for the Houston Oilers of this generation if they don't get it done. And I get the feeling if they are not able to, that tagline, them being the Houston Oilers or the San Diego Chargers of this generation, I think it's going to be that. Like I stated, they have the talent. They have the coaching. They've had the coaching. But when you don't get it done and show urgency in certain times, you're going to get put behind the 8 ball. And unfortunately, it's just Baltimore's turn at this point. And the thing is, there wouldn't have been a better time for them to capitalize than this year. Joe Burrow was out. You really don't know how the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to do at a certain point where Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Cleveland didn't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback still. They're 1-4, have one of the best defense in the league, don't have a quarterback. There would not have been a more perfect time for them to win a division and run away with the division and win a Super Bowl other than now. Instead, they're sitting at 1-4. Like I stated, last team that went 1-4 and made the playoffs and got a bye week was the Houston Oilers. But unfortunately, they're going to be remembered right now as the bad version of the Houston Oilers. A lot of talent, a lot of great players, a lot of numbers, a lot of highlights, no bowl. And that's a tragedy.
Sure is, man. Sure is, man. It's really sad, really devastating. One last subject before I let you go, because I know you got to get ready for your pod. Tomorrow night for Monday Night Football, Chiefs and Jaguars. Who do you got?
Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are going to take it. I mean, I still have no faith in that and in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm going to take who's proven over teams that's quote unquote flavor of the month at this point. So let's go with the Chiefs. Until they prove me otherwise, you can't bet against the Chiefs.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. Was last week against the Ravens a testament of what Kansas City can be? Because now Xavier Worthy is coming back sooner or later. Rashee Rice is going to come back from suspension. Can the Chiefs still compete? Because again, early on it was Los Angeles. Now you got to look at Denver, and we still can't disregard Kansas City. We can damn sure disregard Vegas, especially how the way Geno Smith is playing at this point. Although I don't blame Geno for taking the money because that's on Vegas. But I'm gonna go with Kansas City, man. But always a pleasure having the big fella undisputed world champ. We will do the Sports PSP podcast live Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. We will definitely give a recap of Thursday night's game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. Two teams are coming off tough losses. We will discuss that. But champ, any final words before we wrap up?
Hey, congratulations. Almost 140 subscribers, 140,000 subscribers. You're selling out concerts the way you're going. So hell of a job. Keep going the way you're going. Keep taking care of yourself. Like I keep telling everybody, man, and I don't just say this to blow smoke. This, my guy PSP, is the Tom Joyner of podcasting. Nobody works harder on their pod than Sports PSP. So a lot of him rubs off on me and how I do things on my pod. So congratulations to Sports PSP. Keep doing your thing. You have a gift. And I'm damn proud of you as a brother, man. Salute.
Thank you. By the way, for those men I know, October the 12th will be Sports PSP's birthday. That will be next week. So we will do a special episode on the Sports PSP pod on Friday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube. As always, champ, thank you for hopping on to the pod. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Enjoy with some good football. Big game Sunday night between New England versus Buffalo. And then Monday night between Kansas City and Jacksonville. Also, check out the NBA preseason. Also, go check out the WNBA finals. Jackie Young scored 32 points, 21 points in the third quarter in the WNBA finals. Shout out to the Las Vegas Aces. They're now up 2-0 against the Phoenix Mercury. Game 3 will be Wednesday night at Phoenix. So stay tuned for the WNBA finals and check out more content from Undisputed World Champ, BRF, Brendan from the Block, Trent, Kieran, Broad Knows Sports, Luis, Harris Knows Tunes. Also go check out Culture and Kenny regarding their music podcast. And also go check out Maria. Check out Nessa and JoJo as far as with their podcast. Shout out to Trell. Today is his birthday today. So happy birthday. And also shout out to Mama PSP and the beautiful Great D. Love y'all. And also love you too, Angie. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend and peace.